All right, what's up, everyone? It's me, Drew Manning, your host of the Fit2Fat2Fit Experience podcast. It's been a minute since I've gotten on here to record a podcast, and for me, I'm kind of in the place where I'm recording podcasts as things come to me. Meaning, if nothing comes to me, I probably won't record a podcast. If I have something to talk about, I'll record a podcast. And that's just kind of where I've landed right now with my business. That's what works best for me instead of trying to force an episode each and every week. So today's episode is going to be on breathwork because if any of you follow me on social media, you probably have recently seen me come back from Austin, Texas, where I did a 4-day in-depth breathwork practitioner training with a company called Somatic Release. And so this episode, I'll be going over all the details, all the things that I learned, and sharing that with you. And I'll be talking about my opinions and thoughts on breathwork. And we're just going to do a deep dive into what breathwork is and how it works and what the benefits are and what my personal experience was with somatic release. So I'm excited to dive in. I've had a lot of people ask me about it. A lot of people are curious about it. Breathwork is one of those things that's becoming more mainstream, kind of like how yoga used to be back in the day, but yoga is very mainstream and a lot of people know about it now. Breathwork is kind of on that beginning cusp of becoming mainstream, I would say, and there's a lot of curiosity around it. And so I'm just going to share with you guys my experience, and so we'll do a deep dive into all that. So that's what today's episode's about. So stick around for that. Before we jump in, for those that don't know, I own my own supplement company. I have for about 4 or 5 years. It's called Complete Wellness, and this podcast episode is sponsored by Complete Wellness. If you go to completewellness.com, you'll see our full lineup of products. We have anything from meal replacement shakes made with whey protein, very high quality, clean ingredients, and the products are very affordable and they taste amazing. We use no artificial sweeteners in our products, and I'm really proud of all of our products that we have available. We have powdered greens, we have a nitric oxide booster, which is one of my favorite pre-workouts, but there's no caffeine in it. It's just L-citrulline, L-arginine, a few other things that help to improve blood flow. On top of that, we have other pills like vitamin D3. We have digestive enzymes, which are amazing for reducing gas and bloating. We have probiotics, and a bunch of other really good, high quality products. If you guys want to check them out, just go to completewellness.com. You'll see our full lineup of products. It's nothing super fancy, nothing over the top, just your basic, I would say, supplements that there's 3 criteria. 1, they got to taste good. 2, clean ingredients and high quality ingredients as well. And then 3, affordability. Like if you go compare our prices to other people's prices out there, we're right up there with some of the cheapest stuff that's out there, but with the highest quality ingredients. So I would appreciate the support if you guys don't mind going to completewellness.com, and I appreciate the love and support as always. So let's dive into breath work. So let me just kind of share a little bit of backstory about my experience with breath work. I first was introduced to breath work when back in 2018, I went to Costa Rica, where I was invited to do an ayahuasca retreat. And if any of you have never heard of that, if you just go to my website, go to the podcast tab and search ayahuasca, you'll see an episode with me talking about ayahuasca. And it was at this place called Rhythmia. And the cool thing about Rhythmia is that they do 4 days of medicine with ayahuasca, and you do 3 nights of breath work as well. And the first night we get there, we do a breathwork session, which is like a 90-minute holotropic breathing session with a monk who teaches us how to breathe in a certain way that puts you into an altered state. So this is my first experience, right? We're breathing heavy. My mouth is super dry. My hands are kind of cramping up, looking like a claw, kind of like this. And they prepare you for all this going into it. They kind of, explain what the experience is going to be like. But holotropic breath work kind of creates a near-death experience where you feel out of body. And it was very, very powerful and healing as well. I remember coming out of that just feeling so connected to my highest self, to my spirit, if you will, to God, to the universe, to something bigger beyond me. It was really, really powerful and insightful. Um, and I was kind of blown away. A lot of people were crying, a lot of people were screaming, a lot of people were having these mystical experiences with just their breath. And I was like, wait a second, there's no drugs, there's no psychedelics, there's no anything. People are just breathing, and they're able to enter these altered states of mind that end up making them feel more whole, more complete, more clear. And so that's when I first, had my first experience with breathwork, and it blew my mind. It was way more powerful than I thought it would be. So, anyways, that was that was my first experience with it. But every single person I talked to had a profound, amazing experience. Um, and it was just for me, it was very emotional. I didn't see anything. I didn't hallucinate. I didn't have any mystical experiences like that. But I just felt so much peace and joy, releasing some emotions. I could tell, um, and it felt very, very good, I would say. And since then, I've heard of people like Wim Hof and his method of breathing, and how people do that going into the cold. And I'm like, I think there's something here, because I hear all these people talking about doing breath work. I've seen different modalities, different types of breath work. And then I stumbled upon a book called Breath, which shout out to my orthodontist, who he gave my daughter Invisalign. And then he convinced me to get Invisalign, not to straighten my teeth necessarily, but because it had to do with the breath. And he taught me a lot about how, we have become mouth breathers over time, but before we became mouth breathers, we were, designed to breathe through our nose. So nasal breathing is kind of how we're supposed to breathe most of the time. And this book, Breath by James Nestor, highly, highly recommend it. Really opened up my eyes and my mind to the power of breath work and the power of the breath in general. And so that's kind of where it kind of stoked my curiosity to learn more about breath work. And I had been, I've done breathwork sessions with some friends where we just would like YouTube Wim Hof breathing, right? And we do like 5-10 minutes of it. And it feels amazing. It really does. It kind of makes you feel high in a weird way. I know it sounds weird, like you're doing some kind of drugs, but it's not like that. It's not about like the spiritual side of it. It's a weird thing that none of us, like in our society, we're not used to doing breath work. So we think it's weird, of course, right? We just breathe normally and we don't even think about it, right? Breathing is one of those things that you do. You could either do it consciously or you could do it unconsciously. Like you're going to breathe when you're sleeping, when you're not thinking about it, your body will continue to breathe, but you can also choose to breathe, and you can be in control of your breath. And so that's kind of like my backstory or background with breath work, before I became certified through Somatic Release. Now, my connection to Somatic Release is I have a client of mine who became certified, and she started teaching breathwork. And I'm like, who does these breathwork sessions, right? Um, who do you get your certification from? And she told me about this company called Somatic Release. I'm like, what is that? So she introduced me to them. I jumped on a call with their team. Awesome team, great people. They're not high pressure. They're not about making money. Yes, it is a business. Yes, there's a certification fee that you pay for either the online course or the in-person training. And I opted to do the in-person training in Austin, Texas. So yeah, they do make money, but it's not about the money for them. And this is what I love about this corporation, this company, is they teach a certain type of modality. And when it comes to breathwork, it's the wild, wild west. I'll be totally honest with you. There's different modalities for different things. There's like, very specific types of breath work, breathing through one nostril, for X amount of time, and then your other nostril for X amount of time. And that is used for this or for that. So, but there's not a lot of scientific studies done on, different modalities and what the, proper way of doing it is. Like I like Wim Hof. He kind of says, just breathe, like breathe it in through any of your holes, however you want to breathe it in through your nose, through your mouth. So I don't think there needs to be a specific type of breathing that puts you into this altered state. But I do think that there is some training that needs to take place so you know what you're doing. And so I decided to go to this in-person training. And that's where I met Stephen Jaggers, who is the creator of Somatic Release, and his team, Fish, who is the one who convinced him. Fish is his, I think, business partner's name. And he convinced them to create this curriculum to start training this course. And ever since then, it's been wildly popular. I follow Steven Jaggers on social media. He does breath work for like Aubrey Marcus guys and, Fit for Service. And he's very well known in that community. And I went there and met his team, and they're the most amazing people, just like you would imagine. Very kind, empathetic, sweet, loving, caring, make you feel safe, make you feel seen and felt. And they do a really good job of this 4-day intensive training. It's 9 to 5, 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. So it's a lot. You learn a lot about the breath work. You learn a lot about the nervous system and how their modality of doing a 60-minute breathwork session kind of activates the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system. Now, what is that? There's the sympathetic nervous system, which is the part of your nervous system that activates your fight or flight response, right? That's the part where you need to fight something or flee, run, sprint, like that high adrenaline, increases heart rate type of, a part of your nervous system. And then there's your parasympathetic nervous system, which is like your rest and digest. That's where your heart rate slows down, your body's preparing to rest, or digest some food, and it's like a relaxation state. And you activate both of those parts of the nervous system during this 60-minute breathwork session. And so the first day, it's a lot of like, sitting around, going through the workbook, explaining things on a very basic level. Like we talked about what somatic is, what soma means. Soma is the Greek word for body. And, the Greeks believe that the body, the mind, and the spirit were all one. And so somatic is about, the body being connected to your emotions and also being connected to your mind and your nervous system and how all of them are interconnected. And so if you ever read a book called The Body Keeps the Score, you'll understand how the emotions that we experience as humans are tied into our physical bodies and how our physical bodies store traumas, stresses, emotions in our physical bodies. And he talks about the science behind that in that book. And so I've read that book, I've understood it, and it makes sense to me why some people get sick, why some people aren't quite, why some people get stuck in this life is because they've had traumatic experiences from childhood and deep pent up emotions that have been pent up for a long period of time. And these emotions get stored over time. And, a lot of people believe that these emotions are kind of can manifest in physical form if they're pent up for long periods of time. So somatic is a way of like using the breath to allow the body to express these emotions that have been suppressed, right, for long periods of time. And then as you express them, you're able to release them and be free of them and be able to clear the system out so that you can then think clearly. And that's kind of the way that they describe it in this training. And so the first day we go through a breathwork session where Steven Jaggers puts us through. And basically what happens is you lay down, close your eyes. It's an inward journey. And so you kind of go inward. You're laying there and you start this deep diaphragm breathing technique where you breathe deep in through your mouth all the way down to your diaphragm, right? And then you exhale through your mouth. And you're kind of doing this at a somewhat fast pace where it's full breaths in, full breaths out over and over and over again for about 30 minutes. And your mouth starts to get dry. You do get something called tetany, which most people tend to experience, with this tingling of the fingers and toes and sometimes your lips. And it's just part of the journey. It's pretty common. It's nothing dangerous. It always goes away. But that's part of it, and that's what the physical sensations are. But then that's where the body expresses whatever it's feeling, whatever the emotions are. And for every single person, it's different. And, this is where it gets, people that aren't used to breath work aren't used to people's expressions. And this is I think some people think of breath work as weird or like strange, is because some people shake uncontrollably. Some people cry. Some people yell. Some people scream. Some people rage, some people wail, some people curl up in a ball and in the fetal position. Um, Everyone's experience is totally different. But the key isn't so much the expression, it's the ability of the practitioners to create a safe space to where when you do express, you're not feeling judged. You're feeling safe. Like that person can hold space for you. If you do scream and yell and cry, like you're not thinking, "Oh, don't do this. This is weird. This person's going to think I'm weird if I do this thing, if I release this emotion." You hear other people crying and screaming, and it kind of makes you feel safe to express that emotion. For me personally, just to get, because you guys know I'm an open book, it opened up a lot of anger that came out and sadness, like kind of together. Like it was a little bit of sadness at first and then anger, and then it was mixed together. There was something there, and I know where it stems from. I know my own, you know, pent up emotions and where they they stem from, and it was really emotional for me. And what's cool is they have practitioners or helpers kind of walk around the room, and they'll help you through that experience sometimes. Where I remember, like, I could feel this emotion of sadness come up, and someone put their hand on my chest and said, it's okay to let go. It's okay to feel. And then I just started bawling my eyes out. Like it was like all this emotion just came up. And I felt safe to cry. And I think a lot of men in our society, we don't feel safe to cry. We don't feel safe to express emotion because we're taught to man up and be a man and like not be weak, right? And we see crying as a sign of weakness, and um we see expressing emotion as a sign of weakness as well. And it's a really powerful experience as a man to let go of that emotion in front of a complete stranger and feel totally safe. And one thing I've realized is that, not everyone gets to experience that. Like there's people that go their entire life without ever feeling safe enough to express these emotions. And I feel very lucky and fortunate to be able to live in a life where I'm able to experience that. But I think if everyone could experience that, it is a really powerful experience to express that emotion without judgment, without fear, and feeling safe and felt and seen and understood, to express that emotion. And man, that is really, really powerful. And so that's what was kind of my first experience. So I let go of a lot of that emotion. And what's cool is you release it. And then the second half of the journey, so you do that breathwork technique for about 30 minutes. And then there's some breath holds in there where they teach you how to hold your breath. And I felt like I could hold my breath for easy 3 minutes. I don't know how long I held it for, but I felt like I could hold it forever. And that's the coolest feeling in the world, because if I were to just like take a deep breath in and hold my breath, like maybe I would be able to hold it in for 30 seconds. But to be able to hold your breath for like 30 minutes, wow. Or sorry, 30 minutes. I wish it was 30 minutes. I felt like I could hold my breath for forever, but like 3 minutes, I don't know how long I went for. But there's some breath holds in there that are really powerful too. And then the second half of the breathwork session is nasal breathing, which kind of activates your parasympathetic nervous system, which is like your relaxation part of your nervous system. And you breathe in through your nose and you breathe out through your mouth like you're breathing through a straw. And that's where your heart rate slows down. You start to integrate and process all the things that you just experienced. And that's called the repatterning side of it. And that's where you can really call in the things that you're wanting to attract into your life. Like, so and the cool thing you use is before you go into the breathwork session, you set an intention. So you set an intention, and that second half, the repatterning part where you breathe through your nose, is all about, coming back to your intention and integrating what you just experienced and processing that, because you feel so at peace and so full of bliss, and it's like a zen-like state. It really is hard to describe with words. Words suck. They don't do it justice of what you can feel when you have this experience. Um, and then after the full 60 minutes is up, they kind of bring you out of it. You feel like back into your body, and you feel connected again, and you feel so clear and light. And then you kind of like talk story is what I would say. Like you talk story about what you just experienced. You share your experience, other people share theirs, and you're like, wow, this is really, really powerful work. Like these people that I've never met are opening up, talking about very vulnerable things that they just experienced and what they've been able to release. And so with that being said, I'm a huge fan of breathwork. I think breathwork, from my experience of what I've experienced personally, right, which is just anecdotal, what I've seen other people experience, which is also anecdotal, is powerful. I can't deny the miracles I felt or felt from others' experience. With that being said, I am very careful to make this into like my religion, if you will, or make this into like a dogmatic practice, because I've come from that world where I was dogmatic about my religion growing up, thinking this is the way everyone needs to experience this. This will save everyone, and this is the one true path for everyone. So I'm very careful and aware of not making anything, even if I have the most amazing experience, which I did, and I've had amazing experiences on psychedelics as well, but not making anything into my religion where I need to practice and push this on other people. I do think that it's a tool, just like I've had positive experiences, like I said, with psychedelics or therapy or meditation. I've had amazing experiences in religion too. And that doesn't mean that that's the right way for everyone. I think breathwork might not be for everyone. I think it's definitely worth a shot. It's definitely worth a try. If you haven't tried it before, I would say be open to it. Don't be afraid of it. Let yourself experience it and see where it leads. Like, I think it's a tool that can be utilized if done in the proper setting, if done with the right person, with the right practitioner to teach you and guide you through this experience, so that you know, or you can experience it yourself and know if it's the right thing for you. Um, there are contraindications that they go over. It's a 4-day, intensive experience where they go over all the legal side and the health side of what to look for and contraindications of who it's not for. People that have like asthma problems, people that have, they're on certain type of medications you want to be careful of. You want to check with your doctor. People that have, blood pressure issues, those kinds of things. You definitely want to be careful going into it. I would definitely say that. And so where am I now? Where am I at now with breathwork? Like, I do plan on incorporating this into what I do with health and fitness, because I do see this as one modality or one tool that can help a lot of people release some emotions. And if you guys have been following me, you know that I'm a huge proponent of doing the inner work so that the outer work, like diet and exercise and the physical side of transformation, is so much easier and more manageable once people can release and express these deep-seated emotions that maybe keep them from, choosing the path that they know will bring them the most fulfillment, happiness. So it will help them choose that path, um, and help them think more clearly, instead of emotional eating and self-sabotage, which tend to come up because of these stored and pent up emotions that we haven't quite released, and they cause us to go back to these old thought patterns of like, I'm not good enough, I'm not worthy, I'm a screw up, therefore nothing's working. Like, I'm doing this weight loss journey, I'm not losing any weight, and I'm a failure, and so I'm just gonna eat my emotions with ice cream and drink this alcohol and self-sabotage. And I think that happens to a lot of people, and this is why I think people struggle with weight loss. They struggle with transformation because they try and use their willpower or just discipline alone to get them out of these old thought patterns, and it's not enough. Like, it's not enough. Like, not everyone's going to be a David Goggins and be able to will power their way out of years or decades of bad programming, of traumas and challenges that keep people from believing in themselves and keep people from living a healthy lifestyle consistently because of that lack of self-worth or that lack of self-love, and that lack of self-awareness or self-compassion. And this is why I think breathwork can be utilized in the health and fitness industry, so that it clears up these emotions that we've been holding on to for a long period of time, so that then we can see ourselves through a new lens with more worthiness and self-love and self-acceptance and self-awareness, so that when it comes to making the decision in the moment of like, should I eat chicken and broccoli or should I eat pizza and ice cream or this alcohol, people will be able to start to realize their self-worth and say, I am worthy of what the chicken and broccoli is going to do in this moment versus the pizza and ice cream, which is going to make me feel good temporarily. It's going to numb the negative emotions I'm feeling about myself, whether it's self-hatred or some kind of negative emotion that makes you want to binge eat or escape those negative emotions. This is one tool that can be utilized to help people make that decision more clearly and create space between the stimulus or the triggers that happen in life and their response. Because if you can create space between stimulus and your reaction, in that space, the greater the space, the more power you have to choose the higher path, the better path for you, if you will. And I think breathwork is a tool that can be utilized, and that's kind of my hope, is to bring breathwork into the health and fitness industry as a tool to help people on their health and fitness journey, so that the dieting, the exercise, the consistency becomes easier, more manageable. I'm not saying if you do breathwork, then magically you're never going to binge eat, you're never going to give in to alcohol. But what I'm saying is that breathwork, therapy, meditation, prayer, religion, psychedelics, getting out in nature, walking, journaling, there's all kinds of modalities that can help people create space between stimulus and response that gives them the power to choose the, you know, the the higher path for them that they know that they should do. They know that they need to eat healthy. They know they need to exercise. They know they need to take care of their sleep. But over time, if they can have these access to different tools and modalities that can help them in the moment of being stressed, triggered, overwhelmed, where normally they would self-sabotage, normally they would give in to eating junk food or, eating their emotions, they're better able to manage those emotions and disconnect from those emotions controlling them and causing them to continue to self-sabotage and emotionally eat, if you will. So that's kind of how I see breathwork moving forward. This is how I plan on implementing it with my clients. I'm just a beginner. I don't claim to be a breathwork guru all of a sudden. I'm definitely a student, opening to learn and practice on people to learn how this can help people on their journey, not just with health and fitness, but it makes you a better version of you if in those moments of, because it's not just about emotionally eating, it's about keeping yourself from self-sabotaging, which might look different for each person. For some people it might be like taking it out on your kids, and this causes you to pause before reacting and yelling at your kids, or pauses you to return fire with your spouse or your loved one. You're able to think more clearly and be less reactive, so that you can live a happier, more fulfilled life that isn't just about reacting to these wounds that you've been holding on to, that you've been suppressing. So anyways, that's my opinion on breathwork. That's where I've landed from my personal experience. I think it's a powerful tool, and I'm excited to see where this goes. I just today put my cousin through a breathwork session, and it was really, really powerful. It was really cool to see him express some emotions, because he's not a very emotional guy. And it was really cool to see him open up and express these emotions. So I'm excited to share it and see where it goes. And if you guys are interested or curious, please feel free to reach out. I don't know how this is going to look, how I incorporate this into my business, but it's definitely something I am exploring at the moment. And so far, I'm a big fan. I really am. And I think there are some things I need to be wary of and be aware of and be careful about, because like I said, I I don't want to make this into a religion or make people feel like this is some woo woo thing. I think there is some real science behind it, and I do think it's very powerful and very healing for a lot of people. But like I said, there are contraindications. I do think people can have bad experiences, just like people can have bad experiences with religion. People can have bad experiences with psychedelics. People can have bad experiences with therapists. So just because there's tools out there that help people, it's not a one size fits all approach. If you've never done breath work, I think this is one of the ways I think you can experience it. and then say, wow, that was really cool. That was really powerful. I'm curious about learning more. The other thing really quick that I want to take away is the daily practice. Like I can't do a 60-minute session all myself, right? And I can't do 60 minutes every single day. Maybe once a month, I plan on doing it with someone. Um, but the daily 5-minute routine is also really powerful. And I might do a separate video on that just to kind of maybe just do like a guided session, and maybe I'll make that available on my website or my social media so people can have access to that. But it's the daily 5-minute session where you get a mini experience of this, where you can kind of put yourself through it and then kind of see how it feels to you and see how you like it. Because it kind of puts you in that state where it activates your sympathetic nervous system, but only for a couple minutes. And then you activate your parasympathetic nervous system, which is also a couple minutes. So I'll do a separate video on that. But in the meantime, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thank you guys for letting me talk about this. And thank you for being open to learning about breath work. And we'll see where this goes. I'll keep you guys posted. In the meantime, reach out to me at Fit2Fat2Fit on social media. If you guys have questions, probably DM me on Instagram is the best way to get a hold of me for right now. And until then, I will, that probably the next episode, I'm going to have Stephen Jaggers, the creator of Somatic Breathwork on, and I'm going to ask questions from my audience before he comes on, because I think a lot of people are curious about it. And I think having someone like him, who is a professional, who has been doing it for 20 years, can talk about it in a better way than I can, because I'm just a beginner. So thank you guys. Much love, much aloha. Thank you for tuning in to the Fit2Fat2Fit Experience podcast. And we'll catch you guys soon. Have a great one. Go!